Thanks everyone for tuning to Sims Workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, today we're going to be reviewing Fallen City by Adrienne Young. I really enjoyed this book. I think one of Adrienne Young's really good strong suits is she's really good with her characterization and character dynamics. This book is very much not, I mean, it is plot heavy, but it's very much character driven as well. Because you're going back and forth, it's dual POV novel. You're going back and forth between Luca and Maris. But not only that, you're also going back and forth between the now and the before. How did we get to this point that we're in now? So I think it's really, really interesting how the story evolves. And I like how it's easy to follow. It's very easy to follow, even though it's non-linear. And I think it adds a lot of tension, you know, because what happened before is impacting what's happening in the now, in this very moment, either emotionally or with the story, you know. It impacts it very much so. And I loved that characterization that goes on here, you know, with Luca and Maris. I think they're really good, interesting characters. I will say they don't really have a whole lot of character growth. I will say that. But I think that that's okay, you know? It worked. Usually it annoys me when characters don't really have any character development in the story. But in this aspect, it was okay because you got to see who the characters were and who they are now in this moment. And they do start off differently than they do end, I should say. They do end differently than how they started at the beginning of the book. It was really, really interesting to see their dynamic, because it's their dynamic that goes under a lot of development itself. So the dynamic between them, and that's why I think it's okay that the characters themselves don't go through any change, because their dynamic is the change. You know, their growth as a couple, so to speak, is really the driving force of the novel. So it was very interesting to see them develop in that way, so to speak. I think another thing that she does really well is she uses fantasy in a really subtle way. So if you've read Fable or Namesake or Saint, the fantasy is there, but it doesn't like overpower the story. It's just kind of there, you know. It's not epic high fantasy, anything like that, right? It's very, very different. Hey, Nix. My husband's cat. And you know, it's very, very different, you know. She went for a while doing adult magical realism, so it was different than her young adult book. So this is her first book that's really, you can tell the cat distracted me a little bit. You can tell this book is really her going back to her fantasy roots, but in a more mature adult fantasy realm. It's very much Roman Empire inspired. There's a lot of political upheaval, which I thought was really, really, again, interesting for the story. Especially because, it adds to that tension with the before and the now. Like, why is the Legion turning its back on the magistrates? You know, how did we get to this point that they're killing magistrates and they're trapping people in the city until their terms are met, you know? Why did the people join Legion? What's Luca's play in this? Why did he get bestowed by the gods? How did he get bestowed by the gods? So by not giving us all the information and being linear in that way, you're adding to that tension and you're adding to the mystique of the story. And it kept me engaged. It kept me interested to see how the story was going to develop. Ultimately, I mean, that ending, honestly, I think that's where you see the most individual character growth between those two. But I think you know, I really want to see where book 2 is going to go. Like, I'm very much interested. I'm very hooked to see what is going to happen with book 2, because I liked that dual POV nature of the story. I liked seeing the characters come alive. I liked even the gold, you know, not the gold, the god aspect of the story. Like, I want to see more of how the gods are going to play in this, because yes, they bestowed Luca with like this halo, and they bestowed Maris right at the end with like this golden bangle. What is the meaning of the halo? First of all, did that just mean he's like their chosen one? And now they have to deal with this invading army of Valshai. I mean, basically by the end of the book, shit has hit the fan. Nothing's going according to anyone's plans whatsoever. Shit has hit the absolute fan. And it's like, well, how are you gonna get out of this one, you guys? It was addictive reading it. It was very addictive, and I liked going back and forth. I think going back and forth was really well done. It was very fluid. It was very smooth. It didn't leave me confused at all. And I just can't wait to see what's going to happen next. First of all, how are Maris and Luca going to get reunite? Oh my god, are they going to have like a Romeo and Juliet moment? Are they just both going to die? I feel like she's going to become a general. Like, that's the way the ending, that's the vibes the ending gave me. Because all she wants is to get back to Luca. And Luca just wants to, you know, keep his citizens safe. But it's like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen, you guys? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I can tell you I'm hooked. I can tell you I was thoroughly hooked from beginning to end. It was a really easy read, too. It was very easy to follow. I liked the magic system. I liked the mythology that went into the God's Blood and what it means to be God's gifted. I thought that was a really interesting aspect. The plot twist with Maris's uncle, though, I didn't see that coming. Did not see that coming at all. And the side characters like Vale and Theo, I think they were also really well done. Especially the brotherness between Vale and Luca. I thought that was really well done. Look, all I know is that I need more answers on the God aspect and the fantasy aspect of the storytelling. That's what I need answers to. It was really good, honestly. It was thoroughly enjoyable. Tension driven, plot driven, but also really heavy on being character driven. And again, I like the tension between them. I like the dynamic. I even like the budding romance between them. They're very idealistic, these two. They want to make changes in their parliament, I guess you could say. But you know, as I said, shit kind of hits the fan multiple times. Multiple times. So, you know, if you read the book, let me know what you thought of the book yourself. And if you have not read the book, let me know what you think of Adrienne Young's writing herself. I do think she is an author that you should read. I thoroughly do think she's really good at characterization and rising tension and using the characters to drive the plot forward while not losing sight of the plot itself, you know. She still is able to make the story very plot heavy. Cats, what are you going to do with them? In any case, thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book loving friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading. Say bye, Nix. Bye. Bye. Bye, guys.